Hey Honest community, before we dive into this episode, we've got a quick free favour to ask. If you enjoyed the Honest Property podcast, please hit like, follow and subscribe wherever you're listening from. It helps us grow, reach more people and bring on guests that you want to hear from. Thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate you more than you know.
Hello and welcome to the Honest Property podcast with your hosts Becky and Ruth. And in our podcast, we love to talk about wealth, holistic living and business and everything entrepreneurship. And today we have Vicky. The tables have turned because we've actually been on her podcast yesterday. And today she's on ours. And we love Vicky. We consider her the honest big sis because she is just like very in tune. We feel very aligned with her. And she is a wealth strategist and a property investor, author, speaker, and mentor, and has a podcast called A Wealthy Life. And also she grows amazing tomatoes.
Bigging up the tomatoes.
She's a financial mindset leading to a wealthy life using property for 20 plus years. So welcome to the podcast, Vicky. Welcome. We're all ready.
Thank you. So which one do I go with? The I'd rather be in bed coffee mug, or do I go let's do this one. It's a beautiful tea day.
I like that one. Let's go with that one.
And sorry, it looks disgusting in there, but that's sea buckthorn and it's leaving its bits all over the place, but it tastes
Tell us about the benefits of sea buckthorn.
Yes.
For anyone who wants amazing skin like Vicky, get sea buckthorn.
You're very nice. I love you, little sissies.
But thank you so much for returning the favour and being on the other side of the table today.
My pleasure.
I feel like we call you Big Sis because your motto is a wealthy life. And that can be the truest version of that is also the same message that we put out there, which is living making an aligned life, making yourself aligned wealth. And one of the things that jumped out to us about Vicky was she from meeting her at the Property Education and Accreditation Summit.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
She was somebody who was very sure of yourself. You're so sure of yourself. You're very confident in your opinions, and we love that.
Oh, do you? I'm always mortified by it.
Like we could hear Vicky's voice from across the room. Like, who's this lady? And when we first got on a Zoom call with Vicky, she just immediately shared with us what her passions are, and that is her garden and gardening. And ultimately, this is what we're doing all this for. It's not about, we like property, but we're not passionate about bricks.
No. Yes. Yeah. Although I think one thing I picked up from you yesterday when you were talking about how you design your houses, and I have to remember this is your podcast, not my version this time.
You're the star of the show today.
But it was how you wanted to make your houses homes. Yeah. And that's what I'm passionate about. Two things about property. The way that the numbers work to allow people to live the wealthy life, to leverage your money in a way that we were never taught at school and is some hidden secret. But in doing that, and then this is where it ties in, I think, with the word aligned for me and values, is that we're not just out there getting rich. We're providing decent homes for people who need those homes, particularly without being too political, where the government's failing. And that's a passion. That's something you can get behind, providing decent homes while making yourself and your family financially secure.
100%. It's the outcome. It's property as a tool that serves your family and other families.
It's lovely, isn't it? Name an asset that helps make you financially secure but is beneficial to other people.
Yeah. And also I would say as well, like with Becky and I at our age, and a lot of people that we do know that are a similar age or they're in their 20s or early 30s also want to go where the opportunity is for work. And we don't live now where we stay in the same place for 30, 40, 50 years.
Exactly.
And in the one job forever. The job market has completely changed. And so we're very pro as well renting for ourselves, but also for to be able to provide that for other people, because we want job opportunities and we need to go where the jobs are.
Oh my gosh, totally. Absolutely. And I don't think you can see it here. If I just twiddle to my bookshelf, that green book up there is called Property for the Next Generation. It's back to front. When I wrote that in 2012, that's the message of that book. That's what that book is about. The old-fashioned way that we did property, which is grandma and grandpa have a house. They're going to live until, with a bit of luck, their 60s. They're going to pass it down to mum and dad, which are going to be in their 30s. And then they're going to pass it down, and everybody gets this house passed down the generations. That's not how it works. I mean, look, there's two of you for a start. Mum and dad have got one house. What do? Cut it in half? You have to sell it to benefit from it. And so thinking about property in a different way, and I talk about exactly what you said. Young people, please, oh, it's a dichotomy, isn't it? Because on one hand, if you don't have a residential property, I've got a mentee, same age as you. She lives with her family. She doesn't have her first residential. It is so difficult to get her a mortgage. We have narrowed the funnel through which she can drop. Why? She's living with mum and dad, paying a lot less money than if she had a mortgage. Surely she should be the person that you are lending money to for buy-to-let purposes.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? Well, because she hasn't got a residential purpose property that they can go back and claim if she doesn't pay. That, I think that's probably what that's all about. But the truth is, why would you commit yourself to a house when you're not in a relationship, when you're in the early stages of a relationship, when you've just got married and you don't have kids, when your kids are preschool? Well, at what age are you? I mean, you've already said you're in your mid-30s and your child's 3.
Yeah.
You don't really need to settle anywhere for any length of time. It'd be nice for primary school to be okay, but really until they get into secondary school, because I think when you shift secondary schools, there's too much around your social group that makes things harder for kids at that point. I don't know if you agree, but if you can be a bit more stable after they're 12, well, crikey, from when you are 18 to when you have a 12-year-old, you could be renting all that time, and all the money that you have could be going into your buy-to-let portfolio. And then the rent from your buy-to-let portfolio lets you live the life that you want before you're burdened with a child, until you are fully in love with the whole child thing and happy to settle down and not have expensive holidays and travel all over the place. Why not? Why not think of property differently?
Yeah, I agree with that. I've had this talk with my my husband as well, because he, I guess, would say a little bit more traditional in the where you buy then the house and then you live there for a while. But now that we're married, we've been together for a really long time. We see very much eye to eye that we're probably gonna buy a retired, well, like when we're really retired, but keep building our investments until that time, because we have a young child right now, I don't feel ready to settle. And it kind of I agree with exactly with what you're saying, and it's just nice to have that confirmed, that it's not just in my brain that's thinking that.
I'd like to also add that for parents now, the education options are just changing. Not everybody's necessarily letting their kids go to school, but like the typical sense of education. There's world schooling. There's you're able to get educated from home so that you have more family time as opposed to more time in school. There's a lot of our generation that are trying to flip the script on that.
So
that's interesting.
You might not even need to be based in one place.
And also, if you bought a home for life, then what if you wanted your child to go to school and you're not even in the catchment area?
These catchment areas. And then, of course, where there is a catchment area for a good school, the house prices are elevated because it's all, I don't know, you could either see it as a conspiracy or you can see it as market forces. But I think that bit about not putting your child or relying 100% on education, we picked up on a bit on that yesterday when we were talking. And I went off and I had my nails done yesterday, and I was sitting there and I was listening to two women talking. I have to say there was half of my body as a former teacher going, oh my goodness, I really am so grateful that I'm not a teacher anymore, because listening to how these parents are talking about how they've taught their kids, something to the effect of, in my culture, we teach our children that if anybody touches them, to hit first and deal with the consequences. This was very much a traveller conversation. But then she went on to say, oh, the local secondary school has changed. There's a lot of problems with the local secondary school at the moment. Anyway, my son was never going to go there. He'll be leaving school at 10. And there was a bit of me, I thought, oh, shush, 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 don't say anything. Just listen for a change. Don't butt in on somebody else's conversation. Just listen. And the whole thing was that in their traveller community, boys stay in school till 10, girls stay till 12. By that time, they are expected to be able to read and write. The rest of it is irrelevant. They can read and write, and they have all got businesses to go into. And I suddenly went, oh my, look, this is whatever prejudices people have about travellers. This is an entire business community. There are always, as in every walk of life, there's goods and bads and lessers and whatever else. And, you know, maybe there's more mess. Some people won't like the traveller communities when they come, but there are settled travellers. And I listened, and I won't say what business they're in, because otherwise then people could find out who I was earwigging on. But basically, when we then went into, she asked me what I did, and I talked about property, and then she said what she did, and her family is incredibly wealthy. They run successful businesses all over the UK, and that young boy has already got a business to go into. So when he leaves school at 10, he is going to go straight, not into secondary school, and not, you know, I love history and geography, and not really care where Canada is and whether it makes oil or wood or whatever, and not really care about other religions, or even maybe get involved in science. He's going straight into an entrepreneur apprentice or school. That's effectively what he's going to do. At age 11, he's going into the business.
Wow, so he's going to carry on the family legacy.
Now, we can have a whole debate, and this isn't an education podcast, about but what are his passions? Does he really want to get into that? Blah, blah, blah. And actually the importance of the ologies and the importance of understanding our places in history, and of course, how important science is. We don't want everybody going off and doing entrepreneurship, because we do need scientists, and we do need accountants, and we do need doctors. But what if you could then loosen that up and go, well, hold on a second. So this is the grandson, effectively, of a successful business owner. What if this was the grandson or the granddaughter of a successful accountant or a lawyer, and they're not really, maybe accountants are businesses, lawyers I don't sort of see in quite the same way, or a doctor or a scientist. And what if you could homeschool your child, providing they've got that passion? And like, you know, your two daughters, I was two daughters. One of us will like one thing, one of us will like the other thing. You don't have to do it to both of them. Maybe one follows traditional education and one has got the passion to be in whatever the family business is. And you talked about how focused you were in education, that it's appropriate for them. But I think education has got a real threat coming down the line with the combination of AI, and we're not going to wander into that conversation either, but you know, if I can get AI to create dear chat, what do I need to teach my child for being successful in the next 20 years? Can you predict what's needed in the next 20 years? What skills do I need to teach my child? Create me a curriculum and I will teach my child that. Why go to school? Now, the downside or benefit of it is that we'll get reduced class sizes, which will be better for everybody else. So I don't have a problem with them being home educated. I've got a dear friend, he's taken both his kids out of school at about 13, 14. They weren't happy in school. He's incredibly entrepreneurial. I think he's 14 at the moment and he's earning £60,000 a year from his business that he's created with his dad's guidance. You know, who cares if he can actually cite and tell you off the top of his head where Canada is, because he's got this flipping device in his hand that he'll just Google it, and it'll tell him where he is. It'll look on a map and it'll tell him where it is. So we need to rethink education. And I think with that, a long overdue wake up is maths, money, investment, financial resilience for our futures. And I think education and financial resilience are the things that your generation really needs to grab hold of, and your son's generation really needs to be taught. Because if we, you call me big sis, but you're sort of the same age as my daughters. If I haven't taught my daughters that, because I didn't know it, let's say 27 years ago when they were 3, then I need to make sure that I tell them, well, you can't tell her anything, but you know, that I help them, support them to do what you and your generation really have as an imperative.
It's really interesting that you said that, because it made me think straight away of this school that's in America. There's this lady, this mum wasn't happy with the curriculum of the school because they were just overfilled classrooms, and a lot of very stressed teachers. And she had, what was it called? You know what I'm talking about. And it was, there's a few students. So she created the school and she's trying to get it all passed with lots of regulations. But she's proven with these sixth formers that they're only studying for 2 hours a day, but then following their passions, and they're making money, and it's actually working. So with what you said, it really does correlate that it does really work, and not everyone learns the same way. But if you give them, okay, the 2 hours that they need for like the maths, but it's all they self-learn at their own pace with AI, and then they follow and build those businesses for the rest of the day, but watched by, they don't call them teachers, they call them guides.
Yeah.
Instead, I was like, that's an amazing model for a school.
Yeah. Oh no, I absolutely agree with you. And there's, I don't know if you've heard of him, Roger Hamilton, I think his name is, based out in Singapore. He built a whole school out there, which is about entrepreneurship, but bucking the system in anything. And let's be honest, we're bucking the system in property. Bucking the system anywhere takes passion to make you do it, commitment, dedication, focus, hard work. All the words that we would use are actually the things that you need to be successful in property, because we're bucking the trend.
I do love that education's being challenged.
Yeah,
and
really challenged.
That is a huge part of your mindset as well, about where it's going to take you later, because you have to evolve.
Totally.
And that means you're in the property sense, the rental market is just the demand's just going to be more, because, as you said, people are just going to be more fluid with their lives. They don't have to be based in one place.
A societal shift. I think, you know, if I go from my generation, what we were taught and what was expected of us, we're recognizing that that's not, you know, the theory doesn't meet the practice.
No.
We mentioned that bit yesterday. I'm not going to say lies, but I do think there are some false truths and some fallacies in there in what we've been taught about. But then if we then go the other way and go, well, if I'm recognizing it, then the next generation should be picking up on it and starting to question things. And remember that when I was taught, I mean, when I did my degree, we literally, the first year of my degree, introduced the internet into the university. And I was programming using a dot prompt. So you went dot something /WP to get WordPress up. So there was no Microsoft and everything. And I would type on WordPress and I would have these little discs that you would put in. And we just got really trendy. We went from a 5-inch to a 3-inch, so a 5-inch floppy to a 3-inch hard disk. And my whole dissertation was on this disk, and it was backed up onto another disk. And you carried these disks around as if they were literally life support machines, because you lose that disk and your whole dissertation or PhD or whatever is gone, because there was no cloud to put things in, and all that sort of stuff going on. It is in let me go, how many years? 30 years, another planet. Absolutely. The world is another planet compared with when I went to university. Is university education different? You and I spoke yesterday about the property training that we did, and we know our secret, same company, right? I know that you and I did this sort of 12 and 20 years ago, and they are teaching that same, do you remember the negotiation exercise? They are still teaching that now. Not because it's of benefit to the students, because it serves their purpose. And education serves the purpose of the educators.
Hey guys, if you're new to property investing, we know exactly how hard it is to figure out where to start. That's why we created the Beginner's Roadmap. It's your guide to mastering the fundamentals so that you can move forward with clarity and confidence. Plus, you'll gain access to our free community for ongoing support. Just hit the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into this episode.
Oh, anyone who's listening or watching this, listen to that episode. We'll put a link to that when it's live in the show notes, because we'll explain what that negotiation technique
yeah, we do. But it's and I think that's a big thing for me, is question everything, but not in a antsy argue. You don't have to be argumentative about it. You don't have to cause a problem. Doesn't even have to be anything that anybody is aware, but in here you should be questioning everything, not to the point where you become unstable and you've got to wear a tinfoil hat because the aliens are coming. But is what I'm seeing on social media a real reflection? I can't remember where I was having this conversation, or maybe I listened to something. I listened to Stephen Bartlett speaking to the name of a man, and he's called the AI Godfather. He's the guy that created or basically triggered the start of ChatGPT. And he's talking about the fears that he has for ChatGPT now, or for AI, or for the planet because of AI. And there's two things out of this. One is social media is not social media. It should be called your confirmation bias channel. Because whatever you click on, whatever you watch, they will give you more of that. And that is all you will think the world is. I came off of Twitter or whatever it's called now, the nonsense, because at some point I clicked on something that must have been about Meghan Markle, and all I was shown was hate videos about Meghan Markle. And I just think, I don't care whether anything is true or not true. I don't want that level of, hate and vitriol. I don't want that on my stream. So I literally just deleted the channel, and I stay over. And with my Instagram, yes, I am very confirmation bias in that I don't want to be sold things. So whenever an advert comes up, unless it's gardening or holiday,
anything that you can market to Vicky.
Yeah, holidays.
Gary Barlow.
yeah, Gary Barlow. Yeah, I went to Gary Barlow last night. Holidays. Cold water swimming gear. They've got some quite nice coats. I've got
Sometimes
one. I don't
it
really
does deliver what you want.
Yeah, it delivers what you want, but not necessarily what you need. But the rest of the stuff, I go 3 dots. Don't need that. Irrelevant. Because if I can train it, I don't want the adverts, and I want Instagram to know that I don't like all the adverts. I don't want the adverts. Get stuff. That's not why I'm here. I know you've got to make your money, and I know everybody else is saying put the adverts up because that's how you make the money, and I understand the marketing. But I don't want any of those. So I go, don't. And then if there is someone I don't like, I don't want to see them anymore. And if there's someone I do like, then I follow. And so my stream, my little world on Instagram, and it's only Instagram I really play this game, is healthy cooking, looking at, different recipes that you can make, exercises. Sometimes I tend to save them and then do anything about them. Obviously, anything to do with gardening. Whale sharks, lots of whale sharks, whale sharks. Saw them for the first time, I think it was last year, and I've got over 1,000 dives, and we put a month into the Maldives in order to be there to see the whale shark. And we got to see one on an organised trip, and then one we were just surfacing from a dive. And this is nothing to do with property, but it is the most, even now I have goosebumps. We were coming up, and I look over to see where Bob is, because we're coming up to the surface at the end of the dive. And he's having a fit in the water. He's going, brrr, like that. And I'm going, what are you doing? Brrr. And what he was doing was brrr, like this, look up, because blinking things, they're so fast, they're so big, they don't look like they move at all, but they literally go past you at like 40 miles an hour. And we were it just came up and over the top of us and then glided off into the blue. And oh my God, I had one of those. What I can only imagine is when people think that they've seen God and they have that thing. I don't know what that word is, but that was me having my moment with this gift. And there was just me and Bob. There was nobody else. There was just me and Bob. And and he was supposed to be going whale. Whale shark was supposed to be the symbol, but
He was just lost.
That'll do.
Your property portfolio has allowed you to have all these fabulous journeys. I saw whale shark actually last year.
Oh no, did you?
So excited!
Oh my God, diving in the water.
I was not diving. Oh my gosh.
Snorkeling.
Snorkeling.
Okay, you did a snorkel.
Snorkeling, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is now my new favorite animal.
Yes. Isn't it just? But also just little bits there is, and then that triggers climate change, and we need young people to be more passionate about climate change. Recycling. We recycle phonetically here to the point where we even take all that thin plastic down to the supermarket. And I know I'm doing my bit, and it's probably all ending up in landfill in some foreign country, and I'm really sorry about that, but I am recycling everything. And I don't buy my broccoli in plastic. I don't want the plastic. I don't need the plastic. I'm still trying to work out how to get cucumbers not in plastic, which is why I'm having to go at growing them.
Why you just have to grow your own food?
Because it's that they pick them in foreign countries and they transport them here, and they have to stay fresh for us to buy them. We need buy local stuff. Now, I think there's an advert. What do they call it? Something is inconvenient. Inconvenience is expensive. No, it's one of those deliveries. It's not Riverside or Able. Is it Able and Cole? Able and Cole, who deliver you food boxes, and they say that we pay our fair. It'll cost you more because we pay our farmers a fair price. It won't last as long because we don't wrap it in plastic, and you'll only get it delivered once a week because of the deliveries. We need to be embracing that. I know this is a property thing, and it is about property, but all of this is irrelevant if we don't have a planet to live on, and all of this is irrelevant if you're not healthy to enjoy it, and all of this is irrelevant if you do not have the money to give you the mental calm, the financial security, and the chance to then enjoy it.
But Vicky, this is why you are the honest big sis, because this is like our whole ethos as well. If you don't have wealth, how can you give more back to the community, to society, to the world, to nature?
And also having investments allows you the time to have more, to give yourself better choices and make those decisions and really think about how you can make sure that every decision you're making isn't impacting negatively. I totally understand convenience, and convenience is for people that lack time.
Yes.
Lack the opportunity to really consider the impact of what they're day-to-day decisions are making.
Absolutely.
Like
And you've got to go to the local supermarket and buy it all in plastic and microwave it because you don't have time to cook, because you've got to work, because nobody taught you that there was another way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if you have that confirmation bias in your whichever social media channel you're on, and you're not the one choosing what you want. And of course, I've got all the property people in there, and of course I have some business things in there. But if I don't agree with the business ethics, I don't follow them, and I say it's not relevant, I'm not interested. And
We've been doing that a lot
We've
more
been doing
recently
that,
as
yeah.
well. I think there's just very big names, and they've done exceptionally well on social media, but just because somebody is demonstrating wealth their way doesn't mean it's the way that you want to.
Before we continue, here's a quick thought. Ever feel like there's just never enough time to focus on what really matters in your business? You don't have to do it all alone. As they say, a great team makes everything easier. That's why we've partnered with the Freedom Geek. Their talented Filipino VAs help us with tasks like admin and podcast editing, just like for this episode, giving us the freedom to focus on what really moves the needle. If you're looking to reclaim your time and to work smarter, then check out the Freedom Geek. All the details are in the show notes. Now let's get back to our conversation.
no, that too.
Yeah.
Too. But also there's a lot of people out there, and again, this ties in with the podcast that we did yesterday, that show up being very professional, sounding like they've got a good story, but when you get behind it, either they've only done 1 or 2 properties, or they've only been in the business 3 years, if that long, or the other way round is maybe they have been doing it longer, maybe they do have more, but they cannot deliver on what they promise because they make it so big on social media, and then they get so much in. And we spoke about going slowly, didn't we? That you're not, I remember back in the day when I was a younger honest sister, and I would have conversations, particularly with the guys back in the days. It was all the boys. Nearly everybody I spoke to interested in property was male. I very rarely spoke or found any females. And you'd say, right, so why do you want to invest in property? Well, because I want, and I remember this guy completely, I want 100 houses. Okay.
But why?
So that's what you want. My question was, why did you want, why do you want 100 houses? And he said, and so then I went, why do you want 100 houses? And he said, because then I'll be successful. And I went, okay, why? I don't understand the wording. Why would 100 houses mean success? And he said, well, because basically, inverted commas, all the other people on there have got 100 houses, and all the big guys have got lots of houses, and therefore if I don't have lots of houses, I won't be successful. And it's sort of like an ego thing. And then I said to him, but if you had 100 houses, and I've got a feeling you wanted them to be HMOs as well, you got 100 HMOs, and let's make it all that they are 4 beds. You've got 400 tenants. And what if you only got 400 a month net out of all of your properties? Is it worth it to have all of that work to just have that amount of money? And he went, okay, maybe not. And then I said, so if we go back to my original question of the why did you want to invest in property, and what is it that you want your life to look like? So I'll change the question, eventually get the answer, which is he wants to spend more time with his family. And then I went, but you're taking, we've talked about this as well, HMOs being a more time intensive investment technique, right? You're having a high time demanding investment technique. You've set a goal of ridiculous, judgy of me, Vicky, ridiculous amount of properties. We haven't even talked about what money have you got? Oh, how much have you got? 3p, how you're ever going to get there. So never mind the maths of how you're going to get there. We'll put that to one side for a minute. But you're setting this huge goal. Now, I don't want anyone to think listening to this that I do not support big goals. But I support a big goal that aligns with your big values.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I do with all of my clients is I get them to list what their values are, what is important to you. And interestingly, women do not value money and financial security. They don't very rarely does a woman list in there a word that means the money that will give me financial security. They might talk about family, they might talk about all these things, but not that link. Whereas on the male side, the males will always have a word in there that means money. And this brings us into the avatars that come out in my podcast 1 and 2, which is the woman is the nurturer typically, and the male is the financial provider, and blah, blah, blah. But this guy was doing all right work-wise, business-wise, but had got hooked up into, again, this idea of what everyone else is doing. We spoke about that, didn't we? What everyone else is doing, and then created his reality based on what they're presenting, which might not be the truth, is the first thing. And then had created this goal that wasn't going to give him the outcome that he wanted, not more time with his family, because 100 properties, 400 tenants was not more time. Maybe he would eventually get there, that he could then employ a property manager, but in the meantime he wouldn't be spending the time with the family. So how many years would he have to work? So I want to spend more time with my family, but for the next 3 years I'm not going to see them because I've got to build the business. And then you've just missed your child being 1 to 3 or 3 to 6. You've missed the bit before school, or you've not been there at the crucial bit where they went from primary to secondary school, or you've not been there to support them during their A levels, or you've not been able to homeschool them if you want, or have a holiday with them if you want, because your HMOs wouldn't let you have a holiday.
Yeah.
And so you're doing everything because of this thing up here, which might not be what you wanted. It's what you saw somebody else had, and the words that you attached to their presentation. Oh, look, they're successful. You then value being successful, and you went, that's success, but it might not be. And it might not be for them, but it also might not be for you. And so it's just, property is amazing, absolutely amazing, as long as you understand the maths, and as long as you understand why, big W, big H, big why you want to get into it, and what it's going to enable your life to be like. And if you start from that place, either I can do the maths, or I know someone who can do the maths with me, and this is what we're driving for, that's your strategy. And then you walk forward, and then you pick the technique that is going to apply. And we spoke yesterday, didn't we, that there are going to be young people out there that have got lots of time. And when you started out, you had lots of time. And have a go at your HMOs in the early days, when you don't have the kids and you don't have a lot of commitments, and you're not in some high flying corporate job where you've got to be working 7 till 7 and you've got the time to put in it, and go for it. Or if you are young and you want to do rent to rent, or you're young and you want to do serviced accommodation, or you want to do deal sourcing, or anything like that, give it a go, but give it a go still with, I understand the numbers, and I know that this is part of my bigger strategy. That means by doing this, I can do that, then I can do this, then I can do that. And it's, my hands don't go the right way now. Here, this, that, this, and you climb, you're on a path where this makes sense now, because this is going to hopefully lead to that. And then, of course, we know it doesn't. It's not going to be a straight, smooth line.
Nope.
Not only because life's not, and that's not a limiting belief. Life's not like that, but life's not like that because we can't control. Yeah, we can't control the whole planet. No. We don't know what new. I mean, when I started out, I had no concept. Maybe there were some people out there who knew. I had no concept that the government was going to introduce Section 24.
Yeah.
So all of my portfolios were bought in a private name. It just didn't exist then. And maybe there was 1 or 2 smart cookies. But also, when I started out, it was only just starting out buy-to-let lending. So it wasn't, where were the facilities? There was no, you couldn't borrow in a company back in 2008, even 10, 12. So you would have had to have a lot of money to do these facilities. And you would have been looking at drawdown facilities and I don't know, other sorts of funding. It would just not have been possible for us to change it in that way. And we've got the Renters' Right Act, and I think I was reading something about EPCs changing, and quite frankly, we can't trust the government to change anything, can we? Something's going to change. And then we've still got the fact that the government lives in cloud cuckoo land and it's going to build 200,000 houses, like crack on. Yeah. That's not even a risk. That's not even a risk to the market, because a bit like, so I think we've just heard about Crossrail. Is that called Crossrail? No, HS2. HS2, which seems to have been being built for as long as you two have been born, is due in 2033 or something ridiculous. And now the timeline's going to be extended. All of these government ideas take years to come into fruition. Years to come into fruition. I mean, we're going to have a whole change in terms of, and sort of thanks to global instability, in our funding of the armed forces. And so the army will grow and they need to be housed. And we're going to have more military, let's call it machinery, the whole machinery of militariness. So building things and making things around there, or importing them or storing them. We've got a whole load of stuff that we need to do around climate change. So we've got a whole load of stuff that's going to come around how we provide energy for this country. We're not energy secure here.
No.
So if you take that down to a micro level, you can't do anything of that at the big level. But what you could do at a micro level is, for every property that you can that involves a reasonable sized refurb, why aren't you collecting your rainwater? We did it here when we did the redevelopment of the house. We've got a 5,000 litre tank. We collect all our rainwater. We are struggling at the moment, obviously. But the rainwater flushes our toilet and washes our clothes. I don't need drinking water to wash my clothes. I certainly don't need to be pouring drinking water down the toilet. And if there's a way, we're so freaky at the moment because we're really struggling with water. We pump out our bath water. So when I've been swimming and I've got really cold, and it's been so dry, but the water temperature was cold, sometimes I have to go. I don't have to sit in there for 2 hours, but I do sit in there for 2 hours. I probably only need half an hour in the bath, and I fill the bath with water. We pump all that water back out into our tank, because
that's so good.
Can you please send us your system that you use? Because I would love to build that into.
It begins with a G. I'll look it up. I can't remember. They're basically giant underwater. Now, it is a bit of a palaver in that you've got to dig your big hole in the back garden. But then what you've got to do is put a pipe, and, as in a hole that you can put your electrics and your water pipes through. And then there is a machine that sits in the cupboard under the stairs. So if you're digging up your floors, it's really useful to do that. If you can get it down the side of the house and into your side. If you're in a mid-terrace, this is going to be harder. But then do a different version. Don't have a sunken tank. Have water butts. And maybe the water butts won't flush your toilet and wash your washing machine. But if your neighbours want to keep, your tenants want to keep plants, or you want to keep plants, then you've got water butts. There's plenty of things that we can do. And then solar panels. There are grants out there. So we've got solar panels.
Yes.
Now, I haven't gone around and put solar panels on all my properties, because at the moment, what I'm thinking is how I get the tenant to care as much as me.
Yeah.
And I need them to monitor that they're working, that they're charging. I need them to understand that
maybe there's a way you can have it like on an app.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course you two are immediately going to think of apps, but I also need them to switch the washing machine on at night.
Oh yes.
Because I want it to charge all day, and then whatever they're doing during the day, they use it. And then I need it to be tied in with Octopus, and then I need to be feeding back. And then I need to be making a little bit of money on the power that I'm not using. And then when my batteries are charged, and we have 2 batteries, and the batteries are expensive, and they'll get cheaper. But as that gets cheaper, it's the only thing Elon Musk is good for.
I think I love that you build in these little it's not like you have to have it all perfect at the beginning. It's making
Over
little
time.
micro moves to make things better,
And some of it's just thinking, isn't it? Some of it's thinking about,
Yeah.
I've got this problem, I've done this to my house and I'm happy with how I do it to my house. How can I do that to my properties? Now, if you're into development and you're into gutting properties and doing them, then it's going to be much easier, but you've still got to, that would be great to sell out into the resi market. So if I was a developer, and I think there should be a law that says every single property has a rainwater tank, because we're either bone dry or we're blinking flooded in this country, aren't we?
Yes.
I think
And
there's
why?
so many natural resources in the UK that we could definitely take advantage of.
Totally.
So just to wrap up this conversation,
Sorry. Should we talk? Ask me a property question. Sorry.
you wouldn't think that we've already, like, over the last couple of days, I think we've probably been in a proper deep chin wag together for like 4 hours. I think, and we still have so much more to say.
I know.
But yeah, I think we've touched on so many great points.
They're all topics as well that we're very passionate about too. So we're like nodding here whilst you're saying everything, because we completely agree, and we haven't found people in the property space who have that same
especially with a level of experience or the number of years that you've been in this. I've never had this sort of conversation with anybody else.
Never.
Good.
Yeah, truly. But we love to ask our guests this question at the end of each episode, and the question is a fill the blank question, and that is, honestly, the biggest thing I've learned is, and it could be about absolutely anything. Life.
So I think what would capture it? I think the biggest thing I've learned is not to believe everything I see or hear, whether that's education or social media, someone's profile, someone's training course, even what someone says to me. One mentee said something to me the other day that was like, I need to go and Google that. I'm not just going to take that. Just don't take everything that you hear or see for granted. Check it out. Fact check everything. And then alongside that, have your focus, not some image of what others look like. Have your focus, your aligned wealth, your wealthy life. What's important to you, which actually stems back to your values. And I don't know whether I can mention it here. Cut this bit if not. That we're going to put some materials into your aligned wealth community, and I'll do some of these bits about values in there because we're going to talk about mindset. So I'll put the values work in that mindset. Not recorded yet, but it's coming soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Coming soon. So know what's important to you. Know your values and focus on your values. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you might have values that have come up from childhood that aren't serving you. You can work with them. The episode I do with you will fix that. But know what's important to you and question everything else that is said to you. And like I gave you that example on my Instagram, if you like it, follow it. And if you don't like it, press the 3 dots and go, it's not for me. So I don't want to buy into the negativity. I don't want to buy into the drama. I want to constantly be questioning. So I'm not making my world small. I'm making my world bigger by questioning, but I'm questioning down a line that serves my purpose, that aligns with my values, that will take me towards the future that I think I want to have. And then on the way, like we talked about yesterday, the line isn't always perfectly straight. I have the right to change my mind. I think I want to retire to a beach in Bali, and then I'm doing all of this. But then as I learn about a beach in Bali and what it might feel like to live on a beach in Bali, I don't want to live on a beach in Bali. I want to run a safari park in South Africa. You know, what doesn't matter. But what it matters is that I am focused on the life that I want to create. And I will add, particularly as women, as women, we have it tougher. We're going to earn less if you're in traditional employment. You're going to have more burdens, judgy word, burdens on you, but more demands on you. You know, you're always going to be the carer. You're always going to be the one that they turn to. You're always going to be, as we've spoken, judged. Oh, look at you. You're just young women. Just, you're irrelevant. All of that. You need to, and let's make this as a plea to women, as a plea to young women and the men that are out there. Focus on what you want. Don't believe everything you're told. Be prepared to adjust your goal, because also it's going to take you 20 years to get there. The world's going to be a different place in 20 years. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up with adapting. Absolutely. But live your aligned, wealthy life.
I love that. You're so wise. You have like so much. Like I could listen to you all day.
Hit the nail on the head with every point you've just said.
You're too nice. You're making me blush.
Oh, I love this conversation. I've loved every conversation that
Yeah.
we've had.
So please do listen to Vicky's podcast, because we've the tables were turned, and we've just had so many great conversations about everything that we're collectively very passionate about. So do go over to Vicky's podcast as well.
Fab. And I will make sure I put the links in mine to this one, so that we get all those cross dates, so that everybody can just listen to one another.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vicky, for returning the favour and continuing this conversation with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my little sisters.
Oh.